Gaurav and Arati, thank you very much for taking time out to speak with the bridge. At the outset, congratulations on the overwhelming success of the World Pickleball League.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Fantastic. Arti, I'll go ahead and begin with you. Uh, Season one obviously was a fantastic success. What were the highlights that stood out for you particularly?
Looking back, I think it started with setting up the whole venue, which was, as you know, at the CCI in the Brabant Stadium, the lawns, right? Which was extremely iconic for us, right? And I think just putting everything together over a period of 5 days was a very extremely stressful period for us, but I think the way it all turned out, and we actually walk in after everything is set up, the players are practicing, I think that was one of the most memorable uh, and I think biggest achievement I think that we achieved for the league, right, to start with. And so that for me was a huge thing, because it was the first time that we were actually setting up courts on the lawns. It was all wooden bases. We had to do the whole SBR, the acrylic, which has never been done before. So I think that was the first major achievement for us as a team with regards to the league. And of course, the league went off extremely well, broadcasting for the first time, the broadcast, the production value. I think we had a lot of milestones that we were able to achieve and achieve well. So yeah, a lot of memorable moments with the league for me, for sure.
Brilliant. Gaurav, for you personally, how would you define the success of the World Pickleball League Season 1?
Look, I think to get anything pioneering off the ground, right, is always a challenge. It's exciting, but it's always a challenge because there are no reference points. There are no, there is no background to anything. You're pretty much trying to navigate everything yourself, right? And I think for us, the biggest success for us, of course, is the kind of feedback and the kind of response we've been getting after season one from all our stakeholders, right? Starting with Sony, Setvi, Sony and Ventures, who's our investor, going up to all our sponsors like PNG Jewelers, Barclays, Red Bull. We had some very Dove. We had some very marquee brands with us, and of course the franchisees and the players. I think it's reached a stage, God willing, where the players are actually now waiting for us to announce season two and things. And I think for us, that kind of feedback and that kind of response is really what's heartwarming. So I think, given that it was the first time ever that a franchise-based pickleball league was happening, it was after 16 or 17 years that the CCI gave their cricket ground, the hallowed Brabant Stadium, for an event. The fact that our production, we had Hawkeye for the first time. There were many firsts, right? Our time format, our some of the innovations that we did in the league. I think all of that, kind of all came together, and I think finally the proof is in the pudding, right? And the feedback that we've got has been pretty amazing. I mean, I don't think we'd also be here in this interview if it hadn't been successful. So I think that's enough to reiterate what we did.
There was one thing that I would like to bring also or bring up here, was that the last day we actually had, I mean, the last 2 days of the event, the semis and finals, we had the stadium which was beyond capacity, right? Which we never expected. And I think the final day we actually had people standing out ready to pay cash for tickets, and I'm talking about the VIP tickets, which are not cheap by any standard, and literally begging us to give them tickets to come in. So I think for that for me also is one of the iconic moments, because a sport other than cricket where people are clamoring for tickets is, and paid tickets to boot, is has been, I mean, I can't remember a last time that's happened. So yeah.
Yes, and footballs are always a good sign of the sport being well received, isn't it?
Yes.
Gaurav, Arti did mention about having to create the courts over a cricket turf, right? That must have been challenging. That aside, what are some of the hurdles that both of you had to overcome to launch the league itself?
I think again, the whole journey, right from us, having this vision and conceptualizing it. The All India Pickleball Association were very supportive, but after that, right from laying out a vision and convincing and talking to investors and talking to the prospective team owners and telling them that this is what our vision is. Having a vision is one thing, right? But as they say, execution eats strategy for breakfast, and execution became the key. And some of the timelines, like Arti mentioned, were really, really crazy. So I think if I had to put it in buckets, I would say the first challenge, of course, was articulating our vision and convincing our prospective team owners as well as the investors that we can execute an event of this scale and magnitude. I think the good thing was that everybody knew who we were in that sense. So credibility of the founders was really never an issue. But I think obviously, given that this was never done, execution, will we be able to execute? That was then the next thing was the players. A lot of the players had never even been to India, so to convince them that
Here,
India,
actually, for that matter, not just
yeah,
India, I think this part of the
yeah,
world.
and they had
And
had a couple of bad experiences with
yeah,
some other events that they attended, so we had to then convince them, and then of course going to the other stakeholders in terms of the hardcore operations, right? Whether it was the venue, the hotels, all of that. So I think there were different challenges, and after season one, the success comes with different challenges. So I think it's been a pretty interesting journey so far.
and I think also pickleball being a new sport, people didn't understand, to be able to grasp what the sport can give you, where it's heading. I think all of that was also played a major factor, right? There's a lot of confusion in the market. I think all of them were challenges. Players, again, a little bit suspicious. Who are these people? Where have they come from? Finally, all of that. But I think, touch wood, today that it's a whole different story. I think we've more than cemented our credibility at a lot of levels. So, yeah.
Yes, I was going to come to you, Arti, on precisely that point, right? Essentially, getting people to understand the sport and getting them to subsequently come and watch. Can you share with us some strategies, if I could use that word, that both of you employed to sort of take the sport from being a social activity to a competitive league? What strategies did you employ?
So, of course, not easy. I think, and that is one of the reasons. And we realize that also this is where having a pro pickleball league was important, right? For them to realize what this could be all about, right? And I think we managed to achieve that, right from the selection of the players, right? To have a good pool of players who were competitive enough, to bring that element of the game out. In terms of popularity of the sport, we started this journey 2 years ago, but I guess the positive side was suddenly you would see this whole community aspect that was appealing to the Indians. And the last 1 year, you've seen the sport itself evolve and grow. But with that comes a lot of confusion in the market, which again, I think our backgrounds had a huge role to play. And the fact that Sony was on board with us, I think those are elements that helped with the credibility to a certain extent. I also think that we were very clear, and I think Gaurav can elaborate more on that in terms of our strategy with regards to the team owners that we've got on board, right? I think Gaurav, you can explain a bit more on that, which has also helped establish the sport. As a serious sport, and also, I mean, this is a wonderful. I think the beauty of pickleball is that it can transcend the sporting element as well as the fun community, element and inclusivity element as well, which is what we were trying to portray with the league, right? And I think Gaurav can elaborate a little bit more on the team and how focused we were on the kind of getting the right team owners in place as well.
No, yeah, I mean, look, one of the things we were very clear on is that the team owners need to be personally invested, right? Otherwise, a lot of times the team owners have a arm's length towards teams, and I think I wouldn't want to delve too deep into that because these are personal relationships and personal things. But I think that suffice to say that there's a lot that we're going to do between season one and season two, because we also believe that you know a lot of events don't get the kind of traction because it's event to event, and sometimes there's a big gap between the event. And there's lots coming up from our end, and we are hoping that we're able to create more innovations and make sure that the game goes broader and more people take to it.
Yes, it's interesting you touched upon keeping that interest being a vital aspect. I was going to bring that up as my next talking point. Arti, if I can direct that to you, right? How do you plan to maintain the momentum between now and season two?
Um, well, we've got a bunch of events that are going to happen leading up to the second season. I think it's important to grow the whole ecosystem, right? Like you were talking about popularity of the sport. I think that's an important aspect. Also, building the grassroots, right, to a large extent, having players coming out from India, right, professionally. I think that's a very important aspect to make a sport popular, right? Creating icons and good icons, right, that you can look up to, people who are actually performing. And I think all that is a part of our plan. We're going to be coming out with that early next month. So, like Gaurav says, we'd like to keep that under wraps before we actually unveil that whole, plan leading up to season two. But these are all elements that we've kept in mind while executing and planning for the next stage of the league, right?
Sure, yes. And Gaurav, you did mention briefly about possible new formats for season two, right? Can you give us a little bit of a teaser? I know you do want to keep this under wraps a little bit, but what can we expect? New partnerships, more teams possibly? Can you share a little bit?
Yeah, I think the interest that's been generated from brands as well as many corporate institutions, HNIs, for ownership of teams, as well as for brands to get associated with our event has been tremendous. So I think certainly we will be looking at expanding the league in all ways. There's a few innovations that we want to do, in the format as well. There's a lot of corporate interest from being associated with the league. So we are in conversations with some key brands. All our existing brands, bar none, are keen to partner with us for season two and season three. So I think all those things are good. I think from our end, really, what we will need to focus on is that season one is done. How can we raise the bar in terms of the quality of play, in terms of hospitality, in terms of uh, the fan experience, not only who come live to watch the game, but also on TV and on OTT. I think that those are the key 4 or 5 focus areas that we'll focus on going into season two.
Sure, yes. And Arti, you spoke about the grassroots and the importance of a strong ecosystem. But when we talk about the league being a professional entity and the feeder system being activated as well, it's important that a big mass plays the sport competitively, right? So, how do you see pickleball becoming a household name across the country over the next few years?
um, like I said, those are things we're working on. But I think when pickleball first was introduced in India, and I think that's where the association, which is the All India Pickleball Association, has been doing a lot at the grassroots level, and that's why we have few players who are actually competing and winning at the international level. And I think with the World Pickleball League, what we're trying to do is bring international experience for our local players also to come and see and compete at on the home ground. When we were growing up as sportsmen, we never had that kind of exposure. It was hard to get that exposure, and it always came at very high costs. And I think bringing that to your backyard and helping the youngsters of India realize that they are human as well. I think all of these elements help with creating the sense of that, I can do this as well, right? This is not as hard as we make ourselves out to be. We are as good as them. It's just a question of doing the working hard and working smart. I think these are all things that we're trying to achieve with our league. Also, like I said, we're going to do a lot in the grassroots for just to raise awareness and have more competition. We're also have mandated the teams to to look at local talent, the next generation or the next rung of talent who can be a part of this whole experience, working with them, learning from the other professional players, and so on and so forth, right? And also, a lot of times, like Gaurav said, the players were coming in from the other side of the world. They've never been to Asia, so they always lived in a little bit of a bubble, thinking, in terms of competition. And I think that was an eye opener to a lot of them, whether it was across the earth or even across the pond, right? I think the WPPL helped establish that there is a lot of competition happening all over the world. So everybody needs to up their game as well. Everybody needs to get more professional as well. The training methods, because everybody is looking at this as a sport that is easier, right? Than other racket sports. So I think those little elements are also helping generally pickleball as a sport across the world aware of, and maybe having to look at it a little bit differently, right? So
Yes,
yeah.
and yeah, you mentioned more than once about the players and how they enjoyed playing. Season one. But Gaurav, can you share a couple of nuggets with us in terms of what the players and the franchise owners had to share with both of you about their experience playing in India and the league in a nutshell?
I think as far as the players, unfortunately, India still has this reputation of not being able to execute events and not being very professional in our setup, even after all that we've done in the last few years. Of course, part of it was, I would say, the players' ignorance as well, because forget India, they'd never been to Asia. But just, Arti and me have both played for the country. We are both players, so we understand. Unfortunately, a lot of times in leagues and events, the players are the last ones sometimes to be actually thought about, to be brutally honest, right? And we are very clear that it is the players and the fans that really make or break a sport and a tournament or a league, right? So we were very clear that we wanted to treat the players extremely well. We wanted to, well, pamper them, Atiti Devo Bhavo kind of a thing, but not obviously go overboard. So right from the time that they landed in Bombay to the time that they left, right, we tried to take care of their every need. I don't think anybody expected the setup and the field of play and the facilities to be the way they were. And just little things, some of them obviously got the Delhi belly, but our team was there, to take care of them. I think all of these little things, made them realize that, it's not just a superfluous, thing of calling the players, right? We were genuinely concerned because Aarti and me have experienced how we were treated when we went abroad, when we were young, right? And not only when we were young, but even when we were successful and we were India number one, right? Back in the day. And we didn't want that experience to happen to our players. And I think that translated into the players realizing that, okay, these guys are, it's not just lip service about taking care of players.
And
As
also
far as
making it
franchisees
professional
go,
as well. I think
yeah.
that was key, right? We were able to find that balance of looking after them but keeping it professional, right? That's very key. It's you can't. It's a fine balance, I think.
Yeah. I think as far as the franchisees go, few of the franchisees came, and when they came on the first day and they saw the production setup and the owners, a couple of them said that, we
They were
didn't
pretty
really
blown
expect.
away, I think, to be
Yeah.
to put it
So they got
nicely.
pretty blown away. I don't know whether you managed to catch some of it on TV or have you seen some of the pictures, um, but again, we were very clear that we wanted to make it a genuine sportainment property for the people to watch and experience. So I think those were the two real, key key nuggets. Like, one of the team owners came and said, Gaurav, I didn't really expect this. So I said, really, what did you expect? And I think he realized his faux pas, and he said, well, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect it to be so grand. And I think that when your partners and your key stakeholders give that kind of a feedback, then I think that I think that that you can give yourself a pat on the back.
Oh yes, the keyword there is the set, right? Because you had more than one movie star or individual from from Bollywood involved, and the set being, you know, uh, set looking great. I mean, I watched the visuals on the live stream, and you're right, they did look great, right?
Yeah.
Compared to with the leagues that take place in the US, which has a similar flavor to it. So congratulations on that front and getting the thumbs up from people that earn their living in Bollywood. Right now, final question before we let both of you go. Uh, a lot of people don't realize that what you did with the league in season one is is pure entrepreneurship, right? In more ways than one, right? So, Arti, I just want to begin with you, and then I'll come to you, Gaurav. Uh, what advice would you give to aspiring sport entrepreneurs looking to build a league just the way that you did?
I think we were lucky with our backgrounds, right? We were sportsmen before, professional sportsmen playing sport, traveling all over the world, the country, having experiences as a player, right? And then we moved to the business aspect of it. We've been in the business of sport for now 24 odd years, right? So, I think those elements really helped uh, with and all those experiences, all of those learnings had helped us with this whole journey with regards to the franchise league, right? Is what this is where I feel, where I come from, and it's hard to put it to words. It's hard to explain because unless people have straddled those worlds, it's not easy to understand. Having said that, I mean, I'm not saying that we've achieved something, you know. I mean, I think we've done a great job, but I think those are elements that helped us in our journey in putting up the league and a successful league at that, right?
Perfect.
Gaurav?
Gaurav, you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think unfortunately in India, I think it's changing a little bit, but I would like to reiterate that, earlier it was all about once you stop playing, you get into coaching or something similar, right? I think there's a lot of opportunities for jobs, but also a lot of opportunity to turn entrepreneur. Uh, and a lot of these cliched so-called life lessons that sport teaches you, and you keep hearing all these ad gurus and all these so-called motivational speakers speaking about it. Some of it is actually true, and I'm realizing that today, after 25 years in business and well, almost 25 years of quitting playing professional, that a lot of things that you learn actually in sport is really what unconsciously Auntie and me, or at least I certainly am doing. Right. For example, staying focused on a particular goal. For example, even with all the great stuff and the high that we are after season one, the fact that season one is like a tournament that's done. That tournament is done. The second tournament you start from the first round again, right? So while we can enjoy that moment, the second tournament starts and we have to start from zero again, right? Then making sure that you try and keep out as much of the external noise, right? When you're on the tennis court, sometimes when the crowd is cheering for you, it's fine, but when the crowd is cheering against you, you need to block that off, right? So all of these are lessons which unconsciously we've learned on the tennis court, and we were trying to think that how come everybody else who's not really played at our level seems to have these life lessons from sport and we don't. But I think that's the big thing. So coming back, I think I would tell the budding sports entrepreneurs that the skill set that you've acquired from sport is something that nobody else has, right? And it might take you time to identify them, but just trust your instinct, trust your gut, and more often than not, if you're true to yourself and if you're honest and hardworking, you know it will come to fruition.
Fantastic. We're almost at the half hour mark, so we leave it at this. Arti and Gaurav, congratulations on the success
you.
of
I
season
would
one.
like to add one piece. I think we've got a fantastic team in place. I think a lot of this couldn't have been achieved without them having our back. We've got a great bunch of investors. I mean, our investors been great. Our team owners, I think, touch wood, we've just been an eye power again. So, I think we've been. I would not like to use the word lucky. Like Gaurav said, we were following the process. We were doing things right by what we had committed to, and I think things just fell into place. And with regards to our team as well, and I think that played a huge, huge role in us being able to execute and pull off what we did with season one of WPBL. So yeah.
Right, yes. When you get the process right, the luck follows itself, right? So, congratulations once again on season one, and we really look forward to what's in store for season two and the subsequent seasons ahead. Congratulations,
Thank
both of
you.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.